Good morning. The American people are relieved that President Trump is safe following the unbelievable second assassination attempt in a period of weeks on his life. We as House Republicans extend our gratitude to the hardworking law enforcement officers who are working to keep President Trump, his family, and his team safe. However, we have to ask ourselves how this was possibly allowed to happen, not once, but twice. How were there two assassination attempts on President Trump in as many months? How were these armed and dangerous individuals allowed to get so close to the former president and current Republican presidential nominee and likely next president of the United States? And I want to point out, Democrats' violent statements have fueled this, like a very junior freshman member of the New York delegation who said about President Trump, he should be eliminated. It is uncalled for. You should call the Democrats out in the media for fueling this violence against President Trump. There must be a clear explanation of what happened this weekend in Florida, as well as answers for what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, and changes must be made to ensure this does not happen again. That's why we're so proud that the Speaker set up that committee and broadened it from not only the investigation into Butler, Pennsylvania, but also what happened this weekend in Florida as well. On Friday, we kicked off early voting, and Americans started to cast their votes in the most consequential election of our lifetime. The American people have to ask themselves one important question. Are you better off today than you were under President Trump? The answer is a resounding no. Because people understand our nation is in crisis. Kamala Harris and far-left Democrat policies have threatened the American way of life, making our nation weaker, less safe, and less prosperous. With 4 years in office, Kamala Harris has failed to deliver results for the American people. We had the strongest economy in history under President Trump, the most secure border in modern history, and a peace through strength foreign policy that brought global security. President Donald Trump is the leader the American people need to bring them out of the crises created by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Look at where we are today, the highest rate of inflation in my lifetime. And Kamala Harris was the deciding vote for Joe Biden's Inflation Expansion Act, the most wide open and dangerous border in modern history, in history of our country. That's because Kamala Harris failed as Joe Biden's open borders are. And take a look around the world. You have the catastrophic withdrawal from Afghanistan, where Kamala Harris was the last person in the room with Joe Biden. You have Putin invading Ukraine, and of course the deadly terrorist attack against Israel on October 7th by Hamas. Lastly, since this is a political press conference, I want to touch on the bombshell report from the Associated Press. In key targeted districts across the country, Democrats are illegally interfering in elections by recruiting shadow candidates to deceive voters and disrupt the will of the American people. These are blatant and unconstitutional attempts to undermine our democracy and election integrity. And we are joined today by two of those districts that the Democrats have illegally targeted. That's Congresswoman Jen Kiggans from Virginia and Congressman Zach Nunn from Iowa. These are amazing members of Congress and combat veterans who represent districts where these Democrats are trying to undermine elections and are undermining our elections. And these districts have been directly impacted by far-left Democrat policies of Kamala Harris as well. I want to first turn it over to Zach Nunn from Iowa's 3rd District.